So today, decided, let's take out the Zoom Fly 6. Not gonna lie, I was a little bit influenced by Joanna's video yesterday about his thoughts on it and his experience with it and how much he doesn't like it. Alright, so Nike's Zoom Fly 6. That's what we're running in today. I've had this shoe now since November when it launched, and kind of go back and forth with it. There's days where I'll use it kind of on a tempo run fast day. Shortly after getting it, I ran my turkey trot in it. Did really well on it. Thought it was nice and comfortable. Today, I'm in the middle of a kind of a Nike block, so to speak. What I'm doing is, this past weekend I raced a half marathon for the Vaporfly 3. I brought that guy out. Had a really nice race in that. So then, yesterday, as part of my kind of rebuild, kind of recovery miles, went out in the Vomero 18. Great choice for that. So, today, really focusing on just mostly recovery miles, trying to keep the pace reasonably low, probably 45 seconds to a minute off of marathon pace, probably a little bit more, but just seeing how it feels. First thing I'll say is that these really want me to run faster than recovery, that's for sure. Overall, struggling to stay in on the normal range that I'm trying to get. It's a beautiful day here. Temps in the mid 60s. It's windy for the last day and a half or so, but it's really calmed down today. I hate this time of year. We get these little midges that kind of come out around the river here. Well, this little creek flows out down to the main river, but the you get these little clouds everywhere. I don't know if you could see them or not in the video, but you end up getting a little extra protein in your run for sure. The Zoom Fly is not the easiest shoe to take on an easy day. Some of that has to do with the carbon plate, combination of foams in there. It's really not as much ZoomX as you kind of want, but it's also got a second layer there of more of a training foam with the plate in between it. It's really hard to just keep it in a easy pace. It does want you to keep pushing forward. I'm doing my best, but I'm definitely going to be staying up on the higher end of my recovery effort today, which is fine. I'm not hurting. I'm feeling pretty good. Most of the stiffness from my race the other day is out. All right, so we're about just short of 2 miles in. So about a third of the way, roughly, to where we'll finish. Things I could say with certainty, as I've said a couple times now, definitely not the shoe for easy days. Not the shoe to put on when your sole mission is to just log some miles. Now, underfoot, it's kind of a tale of two things. It has definitely a nice cushioned heel, which my wife, who's a heel striker primarily, definitely responds and reacts well to. Has really good experience with it in that regard. I am a bit more of a midfoot striker myself, so it feels a little bit thinner there, and then as you go to toe off, definitely has a much more prominent toe off. Very, very classic Nike in that regard. It's not a shoe that's cushioning you all the way through. It's really kind of making you do the work. And to me, that's not a bad thing. I think it really helps give it more kind of similarity across the line to say like a Pegasus. But this is like a plated Pegasus. So I guess the question does come up then, who's the shoe for? What's the shoe good for? Well, I have a couple people in mind specifically. One, if you're a runner, I'm not gonna say a budget runner. This is a $180 shoe. It's not cheap. But let's say you have a good daily trainer and you have a race day shoe, but you don't want to go shredding in it all the time. You want to keep that for your big days. But let's say you're training for a half or a full, and you want a shoe that you can put on that's going to give you a good mix of leg savings, but also propulsion kind of similar to what you're getting in your race day shoe. I think this is the one for you. This is not an everyday shoe. This is hardly a daily trainer. It is fun. It has a decent amount of pop to it. You know, you can get rolling pretty good. I don't recommend it for daily mileage, as I said. For that, you know, I would stay in the Nike lineup. I would recommend probably the Vomero over the Pegasus, but we'll see what the new peg comes out with. I suspect it's probably going to be mostly an upper change, but Peg 41 isn't a bad shoe. Takes some time to break in, if you ask me. Vomero, kind of the same thing. I got probably 40 or so on my Vomeros right now, and they really, I liked them right out of the box, but that React X foam I think takes some mileage to really kind of just start doing what it's supposed to, and it feels really good. Now this one here, it's using on the Zoom Fly here, I think it's, I know it's ZoomX on the top of the plate, so you get a little bit of that nice softness, you get a little bit of that response. And then we're using SR2 as the kind of primary foam, carrier foam. And that, I think, is a little bit of a step down. I think that kind of holds the shoe back a little bit. But at the same time, you know, if you're looking for durability, I don't think it's a bad option. When I think about paces for this, as I said, a little bit faster than daily. I would take it maybe up into your marathon pace on a long run. Let's say you got a mid-training, late training cycle, you got a marathon pace effort in your long run. This would be a great shoe for that day. I think it's going to hold up definitely better than, you know, taking your Vaporflies out, or your Alpha Fly. Although, I know a number of people who get a lot of mileage out of their Alpha Flies. At a certain point, you don't want to be using them for every long run, you know, you want to keep some of that magic in there. I've run in these shoes on multiple surfaces, also on kind of moist, rainy days, and they do a good job. They hold up, they have good grip. The outsole rubber, it's got a waffled tread, very classic Nike. That's gonna serve you well for miles. The upper is a little bit on the warm side. Not terrible. Definitely not the most breathable, but it's fairly decent. I am notoriously very, very warm. I'll probably finish this easy run looking like I just got out of the shower. But like, I'm not feeling too overwhelmed, not feeling too much moisture in my feet right now. And even runs in the 40s and 30s, I get pretty sweaty, so not too bad on that regard here. Gonna kind of run through this little park up ahead. It's got some nice little ups and downs. Gonna do about 2 miles in now. I'm gonna probably do another, 3 miles in. Probably gonna do another 2.5. So this little park has just some nice little hills. Nothing, it's Illinois, so, if you go up, 3 feet, it's a hill. But it's a nice day. Kids are out in the yards. Even. So, what shoes would I kind of compare this to? There's a couple more obvious ones. First one that comes to mind is the Adidas Evo SL, but that one's definitely a bargain compared to this, and you're getting an entire midsole of racing foam. You're not getting a mixture. There's no plate. It does have a small, very small little shank in there, but it doesn't even add anything in terms of propulsion. It doesn't do much in the way of getting your way at all. I've not even felt it. If I didn't know it was there, I wouldn't know it was there. But that shoe, I think, is a little bit more versatile. You can throw down in it. It responds quite well. And it's kind of the last generation of Light Strike Pro, which is very durable. You get a lot of mileage out of them. The nice thing about that one is, even at easy paces, it feels good. This one's a little bit harder, as I've been saying, in the easier paces. Another one that comes to mind is the Hoka Mach X2 or Mach X. I personally have not run in the 2, but I actually did my first marathon in the 1, and I really like that shoe. The plate that's in there is mostly for a little bit of stability. It has a little bit of energy return, but it's not strong. But very comfortable, handles a lot of paces nicely. The second version, also comfortable. I've worn it, but I knew very early on that I was not going to have a good time with the heel. Like most runners, it's really kind of rubbing. So I opted to forego it, seeing what they're doing with the third version. That might be a good option. Now, also, I'm not generally a Hoka runner. I've used a few of them, but it's not my go-to. Maybe the Puma Deviate Nitro 3 in terms of kind of a mix of foams, including kind of the higher end racing foam, the carbon plate. But again, I think that's a shoe that's also very versatile. Doesn't have any trouble kind of going with whatever pace you want. So one thing that kind of comes to mind that I appreciate is just how diverse the kind of shoe review, shoe tube kind of community is. In that, you could have people like Thomas and Megan over at Believe in the Run, Kafuzi, Iwata. You can have all these guys, all these folks with their differing opinions. And I think that just speaks to the difference in all of us. People will heap loads of praise onto one shoe, then you'll have the one person who disagrees. I will catch a lot of hate for this, but one shoe that I've not had really good success with is the Super Blast. Either one or two. And I've put miles on them. I've tried. I just cannot get that shoe to work for me. Now this shoe is one that I overall come down on liking. It's definitely a shoe I put on every now and then. It's not my favorite, but for what it is, I do like it. So as we kind of round out this run here, let me just say that I don't think Joanna is wrong. This is not a shoe for everybody. I'm not going to go as far as it is like to not buy it, but definitely a shoe I'd recommend trying. But really, if you fall into that kind of range of you want something that can handle some up-tempo, might not be the fastest, most springy, bouncy, but if you want that, then you're buying a race day shoe. But it's also not the most comfortable. That's your daily trainer realm. This shoe, I think, does slot in the middle. It's not a do-it-all. It's not a Swiss Army knife. Again, as I'm putting my mileage in, it's still pushing me toward the faster end of easy recovery, but manageable. And beautiful sunset tonight. See if I could capture that here. All right. On that note, I will plan on seeing you all in the next run. Stay safe. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great evening.